Well, the Nigeria Labour Congress, that's the NLC, has announced plans to rebrand the Labour Party as part of efforts to reclaim the party and realign it with its founding ideology. The move comes amid a long-standing internal crisis within the party, which has been struggling with leadership disputes and factional disagreements. In a communique released after its National Executive Council meeting in Yola, the NLC directed the National Administrative Council to take immediate action to restructure the party. The decision to rebrand the Labour Party follows concerns that the party has drifted away from its original vision of defending the rights of Nigerian workers and the oppressed masses. The NLC says the current leadership of the party under Julius Abure does not represent the interests of workers.
Well, let's bring in Anselm Eragbe, who is a former national youth leader of the Labour Party and a representative of the Nigeria Labour Congress Political Commission. Thank you so much for being on Newsnight tonight.
That's my pleasure. All right, Stevie.
Great.
Fellow Nigerians.
Yeah, the Labour Party has outrightly, categorically rejected the directive by the NLC through that communique that was issued by President Joe Ajaero. Well, this statement came from Obiora Ifo, which I know you're very familiar with. He's the National Secretary, National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party. He says the NLC has no authority to dictate its affairs and it should stay clear. How do you respond?
Well, thank you first and foremost. Obiora Ifo is not a member of the Labour Party National Working Committee. Now, you cannot become a member of the National Working Committee without going through a national convention. So 20 of us were elected on the 10th of June 2019 in Akwanga, Nasarawa State, as members of the Labour Party National Working Committee. Now, Innocent Lagi was elected as the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party. So, but that is that. So I said this to say Obiora Ifo is not a member of the Labour Party National Working Committee.
There's clearly a dispute, and so how do you carry out that directive?
Yeah, you see, now the directive is this: you don't become what you are not by proxy. See, the illegality in Labour Party is the root of all of this crisis, which we have seen. Besides Abure, there is no subsisting tenure for Abure. Now, we were elected. Please, the world needs to know we were elected in a national convention whose life term is 4 years. So 10th of June 2019 to 9th of June 2023 was 4 years. However, on the 26th of April 2022, the INEC consummated by mediation the lingering issues, that's the out-of-court settlement that formed the terms of settlement on the 26th of April 2022. On the 27th of June 2022, those terms of settlement were signed. So it is those terms that became the working document or structures or arrangement for the Labour Party. They were signed by Abure and Waba and the secretaries of NSC and the TUC. About 4 or 5 points were raised. What were the issues? One, form the BOT. Two, conduct congresses, world congresses, local government congresses, state congresses. Of course, you do the delegates election, then you go for the all-inclusive national convention. There was a 1-year life for that term of settlement from June 27th, 2022 to June 26th, 2023. So, now the summary of all I'm saying now is to say, we were elected, the life of our tenure, let's assume we got 1-year extension, which Abure claimed we got, let's agree, because of the faction, Papa and the rest. But all of that lapsed on the 8th of June 2024.
Okay, so, well, that's not necessarily the bone of contention right now, though it's quite fundamental, and thank you for, clarifying that. Then that's from your point of view now. But the issue right now, the NLC, the Nigeria Labour Congress, plans to rebrand the Labour Party. In what way exactly? I mean, you want to reclaim the party and you've directed in the admin council to rebrand by merging or forming a coalition.
Well, thank you very much. The NSC registered the Labour Party in 2003. Let that point be clear. So this is the owners of the Labour Party. Now, the Labour Party was registered for the Nigerian workers primarily. Now, today we have two Labour centers, the NLC and the TUC. Now, the terms of settlement, which is here, I'll give you a copy before I leave so that we understand what these issues are. Labour Party has no working document besides those terms of settlement. So, and because the tenure, let me say something quickly, lest I forget. Because of the expiration of our tenure on the 8th of June 2024, now, the neck of the Labour Party, there are just 10 subsisting constitutionally provided persons for the neck, because all tenures have expired. But in the subsisting neck of the Labour Party, you have the governor of Abia State and the deputy, you have the NSC president and the secretary of the NSC and the chairperson women commission of the NSC, the TUC president and secretary and chairperson, that's 8. The BOT chairman, who's SOZ, the Jofor, because that was the nomination of the NLC by that terms of settlement. So that, and the secretary. So those are automatic members of the NEC, which is the National Executive Council of the Labour Party.
So how do you plan to reclaim?
Yes, now to come to what the NSC is doing now, the only authority that subsists today, like I've just read out the 10 members by constitutional provision that includes the NSC president, the secretary, all of these persons who now have the only authority in Nigeria to make proclamation. So what the NSC has done right now, because they stayed this long to allow all this tenure to expire. This Nenadi Usman tenure expired just yesterday. Mind you, yes, they were appointed on the 4th of September 2024, and the tenure expired yesterday, 3rd of March 2025. So the statement NLC made now is to begin the proper terms of implementation of those terms of settlement. So, and the only authority to do that now is the composition from within the labor movement structures, headed by the 10 members in that NEC. So anybody who says anything outside what the NSC is saying today is wrong and has no jurisdiction. So this is the position of law.
Yes, and I want to find out exactly how the NLC plans to reclaim the Labour Party. Okay,
thank you. Quickly, this is the plan here. It is set out in the terms of settlement. So the terms of settlement say we should conduct, that's in those terms, conduct the World Congresses. So to start with now, the NEC is now going to reel out the implementation of those terms of settlement. The first one is the conduct of the World Congresses. The second is the conduct of the local government congresses. The third is the conduct of the state congresses. The fourth is, because congresses means when you elect those, you now have full structures. For instance, if the NSC now comes out, let's say in a month or two or wherever, the congresses will start. So once you do those congresses, you have substantive elected world executive of the party. Next, the local government. Next, the state. Next, the delegate election.
Okay, so this
next, the national convention.
This is to put structures in place.
So this is the structure.
Okay, we get that picture. So, but, I mean, there's also the talk about mergers ahead of 2027 election, according to that communique. What would an NLC-backed merger or coalition look like for the Labour Party? Are we talking about the likes of opposition parties, the PDP, the NNPP, and all of that? Or would it be more drastic steps as coalitions and not existing political parties?
Well, for the purposes of grabbing power, let me use that word, maybe carelessly, or for the purposes of administration, national administration. Now, no party can run it alone. We've seen, from instance, how the ACN, the CPC, and other parties came together in a coalition under the APC and ousted the incumbent. So what the Labour Party definitely is going to do as time goes on, more so after putting in place the proper structure of the party, will be to build alliance. So it has to be alliance building. However, the alliance may be, NNPP and the rest might see Labour Party worthy of that collaboration to say, okay, let us come into an alliance for the same purpose of getting power at the center or at different levels. So it's going to be a form of, not merger per se, it's going to be an alliance building. Because when you merge, the part of merging is to say
What's the difference between the merger?
The part of merging, merger and alliance is this. In merger, 2, 3, 4 parties can come together, give up their names, and adopt a common name. For instance, you saw ACN. ACN no longer exists, and some other names. So they came into a merger, forfeited their names, adopted a new name, which is the APC at that time, and formed a single strong party.
Right.
So the Labour Party does not intend in any way to.
But do you think the Labour Party is still that, you know, what's that word again?
Well,
that
the beautiful bride.
The beautiful bride.
Yes.
Thank you. Is the Labour Party still that beautiful bride that anyone would want to merge or, you know, have some kind of, you know, form an alliance with?
Yeah, obviously, we say this with all sense of responsibility. The strongest force is the force of the youth and the workers in this country, which is what Labour Party represents. Not minding the internal crisis we have suffered over the past 2 years. You agree with me that the biggest force in the country today is the Labour movement force that encompasses both the NLC and the TUC, that unionizes both workers at government and private levels, that have the solidarity of young people. And because this is the only party that takes into consideration and account of the welfare and well-being of workers and the indigent. Are you getting the downtrodden?
Yeah, but has the Labour Party not lost momentum? Has it not lost the opportunity to, you know, stay on course based on what Peter Obi brought to the party?
What we need to do is to rebuild the entire process. There is a whole lot of time between now and 2027. More so now that the NSC has made a proclamation and declaration to begin the process afresh and to conclude it in a record time. However, you notice that when Peter Obi came, Peter Obi joined us in Labour Party in May 2022. And by February, which was election time, this was just barely 8 months or so.
Okay.
And the momentum had gathered to that point. So if we start now in the next 1 or 2 months and finish the all-inclusive convention, so we have close to 2 years.
You're very optimistic. And I like how in your previous statement, you talked about the crisis you have suffered. In other words, you put it in past tense. But here's a directive coming from the NLC, and yet you have a faction of the Labour Party already dismissing it and saying NLC should stay clear. So it doesn't look like the crisis is in the past. It's still very present, with even this directive to restructure the party ahead of 2027. So I wonder how you want to go about this. If the Labour Party is supposed to be a representation of the interests of the Nigerian worker, the youth, as you have mentioned, how did it get to this level that, you know, you're not even united? There's no united front.
Well, you know, like I said, it's a common phenomenon in Nigeria, what happened to the Labour Party. But however, now that the NSC has put its feet on the ground, and because there is a document, there's a legal procedure on ground, which is the terms of settlement. And I've just said here to see, there are no, as it stands today, there are no factions anywhere. As it stands, not minding the noise you see there. Immediately the NSC begins this operation, which is soonest, you will soon realize that there are no factions anywhere. Because there is no tenor called Abure's tenor or Obiora, all of this. No, they don't exist anymore. I just said here right now.
So is this 10 people that are in charge now?
So the 10 people I read out here are the authority in the Labour Party by the constitution in Nigeria.
Based on your submission. All right, so we'll have to leave it there. It still remains that the Labour Party arm has dismissed the possibility of a merger. Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Anselm Eragbe is former national youth leader of the Labour Party and representative of the Nigeria Labour Congress Admin Council. Thanks for staying with us.